Hey, what's up, people? Pizowell here, and today I want to talk to you guys about 1987's Robocop. Now, this is partially going to be a review of the movie, as well as a review of this upcoming Arrow Video Limited Edition 2-disc Blu-ray release. And I hardly know where to begin when it comes to Robocop. This is one of my favorite movies from the 1980s. This is one of the best movies, in my opinion, from the 1980s. Period. Now, I can vividly remember first seeing Robocop as a young lad many, many years ago on VHS. And at the time, I'd already seen a few horror movies, so on-screen violence wasn't that big a deal to me. However, when I saw Peter Weller's character Murphy be murdered in this film, it was almost as if I had watched someone be murdered right in front of my face. There was just something about the viciousness and the brutality of that torture murder that I was both disturbed and yet fascinated by this film. And at the time, I can remember loving this film simply because it's about a guy who gets killed and brought back as a robot to kill the people who killed him. But over the years, as I watched this movie again and again and I got older, I picked up on the humor and the satire in this film. And I really think Robocop doesn't get the credit that it deserves for just how smart a movie this is. On one level, it is a badass action movie. On another level, it is a scathing satire on greed and corporate America. You've got humor in this film, you've got great science fiction elements in this film, and you've got some ultra violence in this movie. As a matter of fact, this is probably one of the most violent movies ever made. Now, I don't want to bore you guys with a plot synopsis for this film, and there's so much to sink our teeth into when it comes to this release that I don't want to make you guys have to sit through a 30-plus minute video of me going on and on about how much I love Robocop. But what I will say about this film is that I think it is absolutely flawless. This is an exceptionally well-made film on pretty much every single level. The movie's directed by Paul Verhoeven, who brings this European aesthetic to the film. The cinematography is fantastic. The production design is awesome. The score for this film is just amazing. The pacing is spot on. The editing is perfect. The cast from top to bottom is phenomenal. This movie has such an amazing cast in it. Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ronnie Cox, Dan O'Herlihy, Miguel Ferrer, Kurtwood Smith. There's just an amazing cast in this movie. I love the characters. I love the bad guys. On both sides of the coin, you've got kind of the street thug bad guys, and then you've got the corporate bad guys in this film. And stuck in the middle is Robocop, played by Peter Weller. And I think Peter Weller's performance as Robocop is absolutely phenomenal. What he's able to do as a robot, the kind of emotion that he's able to convey as an emotionless robot in this movie is really astounding, to be perfectly honest. Everything he goes through as far as his body movements inside the Robocop outfit, which the Robocop suit was actually designed and created by the brilliant Rob Bottin. But Peter Weller's sort of miming of being a robot is fantastic, just on that level alone. And then you get into what he's able to convey emotionally as a robot when he starts to recall his life before becoming a robot. Just great moments in this movie. And the satirical moments in this film, the humor in this film, which runs parallel to the just extreme ultra violence in the movie. There's such a strange duality going on there. This is just a really smartly written film. And then you get to the visual effects in the film, the practical effects, the in-camera effects of Robocop. And they still look good today. And even under the scrutiny of high definition, they hold up. And I'm talking about old school stop motion animation and matte paintings and things like that. They just work perfectly in this film. What can I say? I love Robocop. This is a great movie. If you've not seen Robocop, by all means, go out and watch Robocop immediately. If you've not seen the film, this limited edition 2-disc Blu-ray release from Arrow Video would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. If you're a fan of Robocop, you definitely want to look into picking up this release from Arrow Video and adding it to your collection. First, let's check out the presentation. We've got some really nice newly commissioned artwork here. Take a look at that. Yeah, it's very nice artwork. Very cool. Here's the spine of the release. Here's the back of the release with the OCP logo on the back of it. Omni Consumer Products. Very nice. Here is the Blu-ray case. Nice clear case. I always like those clear cases. It's a nice touch. Here's the back of the release with all of the extras, the credits, all that good stuff. This is a 2-disc release. Disc 1 is the director's cut, and Disc 2 is the theatrical cut of the film. We have a sticker here that says, "Warning, this property protected by Robocop." That's cool. We've got some production stills here on postcards. We'll flip through those and check them out. Yeah, very cool. And on the reverse of the cards, we've got this image. Really cool image there for Robocop. I'm guessing that is poster art for the film from, I don't know where, but very cool nevertheless. This release also comes with a very thick booklet that includes several write-ups on Robocop from various people. This booklet also includes full-color images from the film. This release also comes with a double-sided poster. On one side, we have the original poster art for Robocop, and on the other side, we have the newly commissioned artwork, which is on this release of the film. Yeah, very nice. Everything comes stored inside this very nice, very thick, very sturdy feeling box. It's made of thick cardboard, and it feels like it can take a bump or two without sustaining a whole lot of damage or a lot of wear or tear when you take it on and off the shelf of your collection or wherever you decide to store it. So yeah, just a gorgeous release for Robocop from Arrow Video. You get the poster, you get the really nice thick booklet. It all comes inside this very sturdy case. It's just a really nice looking release for Robocop from Arrow Video. As far as the picture quality and sound quality, this release features a 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negative by MGM, transferred in 2013 and approved by director Paul Verhoeven. I thought the picture quality on this release was absolutely fantastic. I would give it a solid 4 or 4.5 out of 5. Same with the audio quality. I listened to the film with the 2.0, 4.0, and 5.1. I thought they all sounded absolutely fantastic. I would give the audio quality a solid 4 or 4.5 out of 5. Also, this movie looks great and sounds great on this release. As far as extras are concerned, on Disc 1, which houses the director's cut of Robocop, first up we have The Future of Law Enforcement, Creating Robocop, a new interview with co-writer Michael Miner. It's 16 minutes and 51 seconds in length. Mr. Miner discusses the genesis of Robocop and collaborating with co-writer Ed Neumeyer, setting the film in Detroit, the corporate satire and the violence. He discusses setting the film up at Orion and Paul Verhoeven coming on to direct. He discusses the casting of Peter Weller and the torture murder of Murphy in the film, including the effects used during that scene. He discusses the design of Robocop and Roboteen's work creating the suit. He discusses the objective and subjective violence in the film and more. Next up, we get RoboTalk, a new roundtable conversation between Robocop co-writer Ed Neumeyer and filmmakers David Burke and Nicholas McCarthy. It's 32 minutes and 8 seconds in length. Mr. Neumeyer discusses his love of science fiction and being inspired by the work of Robert Heinlein. He discusses the idea of Robocop coming to him while working on the set of Blade Runner. He discusses collaborating with Michael Miner. He discusses how Paul Verhoeven didn't like the humor in the script originally, but eventually came around. They discuss the characters and the corporate satire in Robocop. Mr. Neumeier discusses Verhoeven's contributions to the story. He discusses the film's release, the audience reactions to the film, and much more. Next up, we get Truth of Character with Nancy Allen. It's 18 minutes and 26 seconds in length. Ms. Allen discusses loving the Robocop script and auditioning for Paul Verhoeven. She describes Verhoeven's passion and energy as a director. She discusses working with Peter Weller, her hair in the film, training with the police to learn how to handle a firearm. She recalls what a joy it was to work on Robocop, and more. Next up, we get Casting Old Detroit, an interview with casting director Julie Selzer. It's 8 minutes and 20 seconds in length. Ms. Selzer discusses the casting process for Robocop. She discusses casting Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ronnie Cox, Miguel Ferrer, Kurtwood Smith, Dan O'Herlihy, etc. She discusses casting the film in both New York and Dallas, and more. Next up, we have Connecting the Shots with Second Unit Director Mark Goldblatt. It's 11 minutes and 6 seconds in length. Mr. Goldblatt discusses getting the gig to be Second Unit Director on Robocop and working with Paul Verhoeven. He discusses his duties as Second Unit Director on the film. He discusses Peter Weller being a method actor and only responding to being called Robocop on the set. Mr. Goldblatt considers his work with Paul Verhoeven to be the highlights of his career. Next up, we have Analog with Peter Curran and Kevin Kuchever. Sorry if I mispronounced that last name. It's 13 minutes and 10 seconds in length. Mr. Curran and Mr. Kuchever discuss their love of Ray Harryhausen and being inspired by Mr. Harryhausen's work to get into visual effects. Mr. Curran discusses working on Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back before starting his own company, VCE. They discuss developing and creating the RoboVision in the film, and more. Next up, we have More Man Than Machine, Composing Robocop, a tribute to composer Basil Polidorus, featuring film music experts Jeff Bond, Lucas Kendall, Daniel Schweiger, and Robert Townsend. It's 12 minutes and 4 seconds in length. They discuss the late Mr. Polidorus' composing style and the common themes throughout his work, and the wonderful multi-layered score he composed for Robocop. Next up, we have RoboProps, a tour of Robocop superfan Julian Dumont's collection of original Robocop props and memorabilia. It's 12 minutes and 50 seconds in length. Mr. Dumont discusses his love of Robocop and how he acquired all the props and memorabilia, including Lewis's OCP uniform from Robocop and Robocop 3, an entire Robocop suit from the first film, reels of film that include outtakes from Robocop, the original script, the original storyboards for Robocop 2, and a really big French poster for Robocop. Next up, we have a 2012 Q&A panel with Paul Verhoeven, Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ed Neumeier, Michael Miner, and associate producer Phil Tippett, shot at UCLA. It's 42 minutes and 37 seconds in length. Next up, we have Robocop, Creating a Legend, an archival featurette from 2007 exploring the creation of the Robocop suit, including interviews with Paul Verhoeven, Peter Weller, Ed Neumeier, John Davison, Michael Miner, Kurtwood Smith, Miguel Ferrer, Ray Wise, and others. It's 21 minutes and 10 seconds in length. Peter Weller discusses hiring a movement teacher from Juilliard to work with him on Robocop's movements. They discuss Roboteen's design of Robocop and the different pieces that made up the suit. Weller discusses working inside the suit. Miguel Ferrer and Paul Verhoeven discuss Weller wanting to be referred to as either Murphy or Robo on the set of the film, and Ferrer giving him a hard time because of that. They discuss the design of Robocop's unique service weapon, and more. Next up, we have Villains of Old Detroit, an archival featurette from 2007 profiling the bad guys of Robocop, including interviews with Paul Verhoeven, Ronnie Cox, Kurtwood Smith, Ray Wise, and Miguel Ferrer. Ray Wise and Kurtwood Smith discuss using the big cannons in the film that created the large explosions. They discuss stealing golf carts on the set to help pass the time. Verhoeven discusses how he wanted Boddicker to resemble Heinrich Himmler. Miner discusses the corporate villains in the film. Ferrer discusses getting the call to play one of Boddicker's gang, but asked about playing Morton instead. Ferrer and Ronnie Cox discuss the bathroom scene. Cox discusses getting cast in the film and how excited he was to play a villain, and much more. Next up, we have Special Effects Then and Now, an archival featurette from 2007 exploring the stop motion and matte effects in Robocop, including interviews with Paul Verhoeven, Phil Tippett, matte painter Rocco Giaffri, Ed 209 designer Craig Hayes, and others. It's 18 minutes and 21 seconds in length. Mr. Giaffri discusses the process of integrating a matte painting into a film and describes the matte paintings he created for Robocop. Mr. Hayes discusses the design of Ed 209, the inspirations behind its design, and the materials he used to create the full-size Ed 209. They discuss the stop-motion process used to bring Ed 209 to life. They discuss how computer-generated special effects and photoshopped matte paintings have taken over the visual effects scene today, and more. Next up, we have Paul Verhoeven Easter Egg, a brief archival extra from 2007 in which Verhoeven discusses his cameo in Robocop, which is rather amusing. We get 2 minutes and 50 seconds of deleted scenes, including one entitled Topless Pizza, which was very appetizing. We get the Boardroom storyboard with Phil Tippett commentary. It's 6 minutes and 2 seconds in length. We get the director's cut production footage, which is 11 minutes and 34 seconds in length. We get trailers, TV spots, and image galleries. We get 3 audio commentaries, one with Paul Verhoeven, John Davis, and Ed Neumeyer, a second audio commentary with Paul M. Salmon, and a third audio commentary with Christopher Griffiths, Gary Smart, and Eastwood Allen. On disc 2, which contains the theatrical cut of Robocop, we get an audio commentary with Paul Verhoeven, John Davison, and Ed Neumeyer, recorded in 2001. We get the isolated scores, we get the edited for TV version, and we get split-screen comparisons of the theatrical and director's cuts of Robocop and the theatrical and TV cuts of Robocop. This is an absolutely loaded, awesome release for Robocop from the fine folks over at Arrow Video. You've got great picture quality and sound quality. You've got lots of new extras, lots of old extras. The presentation is fantastic. You get a poster. You get a really nice booklet. This is just a killer release for Robocop from the folks over at Arrow Video. I'll post a link to Arrow Video's website down in the description. Go over and check them out. Please let me know your thoughts on Robocop down in the comments section below. If you pre-ordered this release, please let me know down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. Join the $1 a Month Club and help support my channel on Patreon. Thank you to my current patrons, Kevin Smythe, B-Movie Mike, Robert Sobel, Turi Delamore, Stephen Flanagan, Lori Holt, Craig Farrand, Farron Sutton, Jeremiah Lambert, Grindhouse Grotto, Derek Jana, Demon Waffles, Simon Clark, Stone Gassman, Zachary Barton, Lorne Dixon, James Welch, Eli Geisler, Jeff Overing, Pete Toll, Kyle McGuire, Jay the Stingray, Andrew McDonald, Dave Barnes, Jonathan Lundy, Chris Gonzalez, R-Rated Horror, Fear Fuel, Jason Breitenbach, Brandon Bisdick, Steak Sauce, Mark Striano, Jeff Gardner, Travis Davis, The Obsoletionist, Chris Earls, Kevin Fitzpatrick, Randall Beatty, Joseph Hinkle, Hey Isn't That Devon Graham, and Christian Hannah Horror. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.